First, let's take a look at this street. It's a short street between this point and Sheriff Street. This house used to be this one on the left, that is on the north side, used to be a university. Somebody had rented it out to be a private university, but I think the lease is up on that and it's kind of reversed to what it is now, a residential home. This says 21, Century 21. I guess that's the home of Century 21 here in Guyana. This is Amazon Caribbean Guyana Limited, CEF. This one is new construction, residential home I suppose, or condominium. This one is, I think, also new, 3 stories and residential, and that one is also well renovated if not new. And then there's the one at the corner intersection here that's been built I think about 5 or so years ago. I remember them building this house on the way back. So this one is also renovated. Right, so Subryanville was a quiet and residential neighborhood. And now apparently there are a lot of commercial establishments being run from these homes. So people have sort of turned their property, their homes, into commercial, but are running their businesses out of their homes. This one, I think, is an apartment building now. Right, so somebody built an apartment building here. We're right at the corner of Century 21 for rent. So yes, right at the corner here there is a lot 1 Sheriff Street and First Avenue, Subryanville. The sign says this one is a residential apartment. It's been built in the last 5 years or so. I think I was here seeing this one on the construction. Now we're going to look at the back side of that Taj Mahal looking building. Alright, so the idea here, I guess, behind going taller is so that you get a better view of the Atlantic Ocean. Right, so all this is oceanfront property, but like I said earlier, in the 60s and 70s when they were built, these properties were not necessarily built for a view, or it's not really built to be homes with a view. At least they didn't need to go up high. I suppose the highway wasn't even built then, Rupert Craig Highway. But now, of course, people are building taller, so this is a taller structure that it's meant to take advantage of the view, the ocean view. So I guess from the roof, this roof deck, you'll be able to look out over the Atlantic Ocean. This is the second tier of houses. This one, recently built, doesn't seem to have a roof deck, but I think it has a flat roof and could possibly be eventually used in the same way as a deck. Alright, so we saw those 2 new houses, and like I said, this is the French consulate here, the blue, I suppose the sign says, and some of these homes have commercial establishments inside as well. I mean, they're dual purpose. First Street in Subryanville. Now we're going to take a look at 2nd Street, and there's some interesting developments happening in the 2nd Street. So these were the original affluent homes in Subryanville. One here at this intersection. These were the original, the initial oceanfront property, and they always looked good from the highway. When you pass, you'd see the lawns. This is a hotel. It's called the Atlantic Inn. Right, Atlantic Inn here. Close to the ocean, Lot 56. And this building is new. This is a new, don't know if it's a single family home or a condominium, but it's new construction. It's been built in the last 2 years or so. I've actually seen it being constructed here in 2nd Street, Subryanville. Somebody said they wanted to see on the inside. Don't know if I'll get permission to take a look on the inside. I don't know if it's occupied already.
Distance 5 miles. Duration 1 hour 55 minutes 2 seconds. Pace 22 minutes 3 seconds per mile. 808 kilocalories burned.
So yes, this is 2nd Street, and this is a new, fairly new actually, residential property based on the meter. So there is a single electrical meter. Based on the meter, it seems as if it's a single unit, because like we saw the last time on the East Coast, that condominium had 9 meters on the outside, electric meters. This was what the original colonial architecture looks like, right? Back in the 60s and the 70s, when you were building a big home here in Subryanville, that is what it looked like based on Old English architecture. And this is what back in the 60s and 70s. Morning. This is what an affluent home looked like back in the 1960s and 70s. And bearing in mind that this neighborhood, Subryanville, was in fact an affluent neighborhood, one of the residential neighborhoods. But now people have come back and are returning to build larger homes. And now the standard is to build, covering the entire lot, 4,000 square feet and more, houses with larger footprints and larger volume. Subryanville. Morning. And of course, to combine your business with your residence, you need more space, more like space for office space, and you need residential space. Morning. So this is in fact what the new Subryanville looks like. New Subryanville being the sort of new houses that have been built in the last 5 years or so. People who've returned from living abroad and have come back to settle down, to retire, and are now building larger homes. This one, for example, is still under construction, almost completed. That's a new home somebody is building. See, the back fence is still boarded up, hasn't been completed yet. And the rest of it is homes that are prime real estate because of the location, and likely to be eventually renovated to look like the newer homes. Now this one has a number of air conditions in the back, So that could also be a condominium. This new home in the corner of 2nd Street. This one I think is, now that I see it more closely, blue and red and white, off-white, is a single family home that was redesigned, rebuilt, I think in the last 12 months or so. Because I observed this. Right, I kind of observed this building being constructed over the last year. And this large piece of property, well, this has been around for a while, has always been a residential home, but you can see what is unusual about it is that it's in the city, it's in the boundaries of the city, but it occupies much more land than normal, than is typical. So this is kind of unusual to have a home that is spread over like 4 or 5 typical city lots. This is Subryanville in Georgetown. None of these houses have been renovated to look like they, in terms of size, like they did in the 60s and 70s when they were built, but basically revised or spruced up, or in a superficial way renovated, updated, basically updated. But then there's others like these that have been really built larger and now occupy much more space, volume. Morning. These guys are building a sidewalk. So this, in fact, so large it might be some kind of a hotel. So large that it could be a hotel. But this is what the original home looks like. This is the size of the original home, and eventually all of these homes, I suppose, are going to get renovated. That's the tower you see from the Atlantic Ocean. Somebody had the idea of putting a tower and observation deck. The Sigma engineers are here. So again, another house with offices for a firm. And then across the way, that's the Russian embassy in Guyana. This was built in the 1990s, I think, around 1992. And that's Public Road, Kitty. Now this building behind is also in Subryanville, and it's kind of recently been constructed. I think it's almost complete. We'll take a closer look at it from the other side.